Okay, so hello. I am working as 1414 on Magic Online, and this past weekend I was fortunate enough to be able to place second in the MTGO Modern Showcase Challenge. So I thought I would go through my deck, what I played, a little bit about the card choices, and then mostly go through all of my matches and just talk through my decisions and just show my path to getting second in this and qualifying for the Showcase qualifier. So the deck I chose to play was Mono Black Necrodominance. So it's a deck I've played for online for the past couple months, and so I really enjoy it and think it's a fairly powerful strategy in a field of with a very high concentration of energy. So in which so I chose to play this for the challenge because expecting there to be a ton of energy in the meta, and I was right. In my 13 rounds, I managed to play energy 9 times. So, going through the card choices, I played a bunch of four Fatal Push, 3 Inquisition, 4 Thoughtseize. This is pretty much exactly the list I've consistently run online for the past couple of months. I made one small change in the sideboard. For the most part, it's the same 60. Anyway, just a bunch of cheap interaction. You want to be able to interact in turn 1, have removal, as well as a clear way of counter spells. 4 Orcish Bowmasters. It's a energy, be able to clear all their X1s and Ocelot Prides, as well as punish all the ring decks and deal with your opponent's Orcish Bowmasters. 4 Necrodons is for 1 ring. This is how the deck functions. You need extra cards to draw because you're playing 4 copies of Soul Spike, 3 copies of March, which are really inefficient cards, but they're the most efficient way to use cards to draw after Necrodominance. And then 4 copies of Shieldred. This is the main win condition way to stabilize, since if you land Necrodominance and Shieldred, you can gain life for every card that you draw. And then I chose to main deck the Meathook Massacre for the energy matchup. As when then for the MDF land space, I played 4 Bogger Trawler, 4 Fail the Profane, 2 Agadines, just for to have increased the black card count to be able to pitch to Soul Spike in March, as well as the fact that Fail the Profane lets you deal with bigger threats that Fatal Push can't, and Bogger Trawler is a way to handle Flage. And then 12 basic swamps, 2 castles, and Attack-a-Numa. The castles are really useful in the mostly the frog type match, which I didn't see, but also anytime you're in top deck mode, being able to dig a little bit deeper to try and find a ring or a Necrodominant, as well as Takanuma, which doesn't come up that often, but it's basically free outside of Blood Moon or Blood Moon or Harbinger of the Seas, which I wasn't expecting to see a ton of in this meta. So yeah, and then for the sideboard, again, pretty standard 4 Dalthy Voidwalker. So this card is weird because it's better against the field, but for the most part, it's a liability against energy. So I chose to put all 4 in the sideboard, expecting once again just to prepare for the energy matchup, and I figured that would be. I was fine enough game 1 against most of the rest of the field without them. 3 Break the Ice, 2 Damping Sphere. This is the one change that I made. There had been an uptick in Belcher recently in the meta, so I chose to sideboard Undercity Informer for that matchup. Did not play against it once, so that was kind of useless. And then 2 Surgical Extraction to handle Flage permanently, as well as for various combo decks such as Titan. Force of Despair for stuff like Through the Breach, Living in, Titan. I also sided in On the Draw, often against Boros Energy. I'm still not 100% sure if that's the correct choice, but I figured it helps to avoid the starts where you just get completely overrun. And then the second Meathook Massacre to be able to more consistently wipe your board. Since this card is very, very good against energy, nullifies Goblin Bombardment, as well as provides life gain to help you draw more with Necro. Okay, so now heading into the games, let me just make sure this is. Yep, okay. So heading into the first game, my round one opponent was Guildspire, who I knew was on Tron. I had played against them a couple of days before, and since these challenges are you can see people's Magic Online history, I was pretty confident they were on Tron. So right off the bat, I had a pretty interesting decision point, where my opening hand was 2 lands, Inquisition Bowmasters, March Shieldred Ring. So while I would have kept this hand against most decks, against Tron specifically, I was worried there was too many ways this hand could go wrong. For starters, I need to draw 2 lands to do anything, And Inquisition doesn't really hit any of the threats I'm worried about. Like, it doesn't hit Karn, it hits Kozilek Command, it doesn't hit Karn, doesn't hit Thought Not Seer, doesn't hit Ring. As well as the fact that March is not like super great against them. Mole Masters isn't really going to kill anything, it only punishes it. So I was just worried that either this hand they're just going to drop a really fast threat or launch Karn and my Ring would be useless. So I chose the mulligan this hand because this is also a matchup where Necro Dominance is much, much better than Ring, just because of the fact that they're not really pressuring your life total early enough for the life loss to matter that much. So then I drew into an unplayable 6, not much to talk about here, only one land, this is a mulligan. So then my 5 is Necro Dominance in hand, so I'm not going to go down to 4. So I chose the bottom Fatal Push because that's not going to be super useful this matchup, as well as one Swamp because, again, not really concerned about the life loss, so I'd rather have the second Fellow Prey in case I need to kill something bigger. So my opponent pre-games Devours of Destiny, and then exiles it to the Ugin's Labyrinth and plays a Talisman on turn 1, and they exile 2 lands in a Chalice Void, which doesn't really give away a lot. So then I just play this tapped and pass the turn, and they play a card. So maybe I was supposed to leave this untapped to be able to kill a card on end step, but or bluff Bowmaster, since I think the 3 life isn't super likely to matter. That might have been a minor mistake, but I don't really think it would have changed. As you're going to see, I don't think it would have changed much. So maybe I should have done that. Anyway, so they reveal Ring, and so I top deck the Soul Spike, play Necro Dominance, and here I chose to draw 12 cards. Again, life total not super important in this matchup, so you can afford to be kind of aggressive. And so I drew 2 of my Psychs. So I chose to Spike Karn and Spike Face. This is all fairly standard. There's not really a reason this matchup to hold Soul Spike. There are other matches. This is not one of them. And so for the hand I chose to keep is I chose to keep 2 copies of Shieldred, a Thoughtseize in March, and the 4th land. Because I figured I want to be able I want this matchup, they can remove your Shieldreds with stuff like Devourer, which I knew they had one in their Labyrinth, Kozilek's Command, so I wanted to make sure to have it. Also, I knew they were playing Thought Not Seer, so if they Thought Not Seared here, I wanted to make sure I had a backup one, but they just played Ring and passed. Or, well, they played Talisman, then Ring and passed. So here, not really much. I slammed Shieldred, and here I definitely made a more serious mistake. So I chose to only draw 5 with Necrons because this is a matchup where your life total isn't really that much of an issue. It's more the fact that I was concerned about having to exile more win conditions and running out of win conditions. So in hindsight, I don't think I should have gone for the full 15, but I do think I should have drawn more aggressively. Since here I didn't find a Necrodometer or another draw engine or really much of anything, so I just pitched a couple of lands and just kept another Shieldred, Archdotes, and the castle. And so my opponent, they drew All's Dust, wiped my board, and now here I'm in a really bad spot. So this is why I should have drawn more. But so then I was able to Thoughtseize, see their hand. Didn't really have much. It was just the World Breaker, 2 lands, and a Kozilek's Command. So I took the Kozilek's Command and dropped Shieldred, thinking they're at least going to have a difficult time removing this. And their ring's going to be ticking down. And of course, they top deck the Devour of Destiny. So now I'm in a really terrible spot where I've gone through 3 of my Shieldreds. So I only have 1 left in deck, as well as the fact that I don't have a engine, and my hand doesn't do great. So I top deck a useless Fatal Push, not really much happens. And here they chose not to draw with Ring. I'm not really sure why they chose not to do it on their turn. I think they were just worried about their life total. And then here my opponent plays a World Breaker just to get rid of their own Ring, so that way they don't lose to it. And so here I just Soul Spike Face. I should have waited for this. I don't know why I did it. And here they chose not to attack. So this match was actually posted by my opponent's perspective on YouTube, and I asked them about this afterwards. Apparently, they were worried about potentially losing the double Bowmasters if I attacked, which I think was definitely a mistake. But anyway, so draw with Castle, pick up the second March, which isn't the worst thing, but really at this point I'm in a bad spot just looking for Either Soul Spike is a way to close out the game, or my last Shieldred, or like a Necro. So here they microspawn my castle, which also isn't good, but luckily I top deck Ring. And here they started tapping stuff. I think I know their last card in hand was a Devourer, actually. So here I just play Ring, draw a card, and I draw the third March, which is, in this position, not actually the worst thing in the world. So here they just pass, and I draw an Agadeem's, Bowmaster Swamp. So here I was thinking the Agadeem's could be a way to rebuy the Bowmasters to deal an extra 20 damage. But then I get Thought Knot Seared, so I have to use the Bowmasters. I go face, just because I'm trying to deal as most damage as possible. And here I could have marched something in response. There's not really a point because my opponent's clearly not taking the Agony, so it's just going to be one of the marches. So I'd rather just wait until combat to see what happens. And here they play the Devourer, which we knew about, to exile the Bowmasters and attack with everything. Yeah, so not really a ton of decision here. I just need to survive, so I just kill the Devourer and then take 6. And so here, I don't remember what I did. Oh, okay, so I Inquisitioned them just to see what they had working with. So it's a land, so I just decided to slam Ring and then play Necro. And so here, I decided to just try and go for it by drawing 6, hoping to find the last Soul Spike, because at this point, giving my opponent any additional draw steps is going to be kind of risky. So here I don't find, and plus I have the last March, so I can gain life. In hindsight, maybe I wasn't supposed to go for it this turn in case they top the Kozilek's command, so that they can nullify the life gain response. But anyway, on my upkeep, I draw 4. Don't really find much, but luckily I have the March. So I'm able to live through the Ring, and I kill the Thought Knot Seer. And then here is where I make another mistake, or I just played Ring. I should have just played the Shield here to win the game, since they clearly didn't have Kozilek's command, or they could have Kozilek's command their own creature to win the game. But I just chose to mistakenly play around it and push their creature. But at this point, I'm in a fairly good spot. There's not a ton of top things left that matter for my opponent, and I'll just eventually draw my last cards and win the game. And here I land the Shieldred and draw the Bowmasters, and Bowmasters my opponent's death. So heading into the second game of the match, if I view my sideboard for this, I obviously cut all the pushes, the Meat Hook Massacre, as well as the Inquisitions in one march to bring in the Damping Spheres, the Douthies, and the Break the Ices. Because again, Fatal Push kind of useless, Meat Hook pretty useless, and all this is useless. And I chose to cut one march because I knew my opponent wasn't on Trinisphere. So against Trinisphere matchups, oftentimes I will cut the Soul Spike, but I knew my opponent wasn't on that, so I decided to cut a Martian Jet just to be able to have more ability to deal damage face. So they're on the play. And here, this hand, it's a turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Bowmasters, but doesn't really do much. Doesn't have a threat, doesn't have a draw engine, so I mulligan this. And this hand is quite good. It has Douthieve, Bowmasters, 3 lands, 2 rings. So this hand's pretty good, where I have Douthieve on 2, I got Bowmasters, Punish, Ring drawn, I've got the lands. So I keep this, I put back an additional ring. I don't really need 2 in this matchup. Yes, they could theoretically Thought Knot Seer it, but I chose to. That's the most replaceable card in this hand, and I drew a Break the Ice, which is a pretty good. So here is another interesting decision point. So my options are I can either Break the Ice to hit the Uggin's Labyrinth, or I can play Dalthy. So I chose to play Dalthy here because as of this moment, I don't really have a great turn three play, and I just wanted to apply as much pressure as possible. In hindsight, it probably was more correct just to Break the Ice the Uggin's Labyrinth, because that way they have to wait. They have to, although they can rebuy the Devourer, they do have to wait a turn before deploying either a Ring or a Karn. At which point, then they can play the Dauthi, and not much has changed. So I do think this was a small mistake, but certainly I don't keep playing and think there is definitely an argument for both. So here, my opponent plays Ring, and I top deck Necrodominance. So I'm just going to play that. Again, I could break the ice, but at this point, I just want to advance my game as much as possible, and especially since now they have two Tron lands. There's not. I don't really want to hit a power plant. If I hit this, they can just play Tron. It doesn't impact them that much. So again, I chose to draw 6 here. I already have the shield or I have a ring. There's not really a ton I need, so I don't really want to potentially burn through a bunch of soul spikes when they have ring protection. And here I drew the damping sphere, which is nice. So if they have so I decided for my hand I just decided to both break the ice. Because I figured the odds of me actually casting it next turn are low, and that's how they have the damping sphere. So I was just gonna. So my plan was the next turn to either drop Shieldred or to be able to go Bowmasters plus damping sphere. And so here they draw with ring. They assemble Tron, and here they devoured. And they chose to go for the Dauthi, which they maybe should have gone for the Necro here, but certainly was a reason to play. And here, I could have sacked it in response. Not really a point. There's a Necronominus in play. So now they have Devour in play. I just decide to play here. I actually chose to play out the Damping Sphere just because of the fact that I don't want my opponent to be able to start getting insane amounts of mana advantage. And yes, I can play the Shieldred, gain 13, draw a bunch, but if they've got like a Coastal Commander hand, it just doesn't really do anything. And so here I just drew 3. Again, now there's a Damping Sphere in play. I'm not really going to be soul spiking a bunch, and I have the Shieldred already, and I have a ring. And so here they thought not sear me. And maybe I was supposed to. Oh, well, I couldn't Bowmaster land step because of Damping Sphere. So maybe I was supposed to main phase in the Bowmasters and then Damping Sphere, but then my opponent knows I have it, so I'm not sure if that's correct. But anyway, they thought not sear, take the Shieldred, which is not great. But here I just flash in Bowmasters, they draw in response, and I go face. So now, not in the best spot, but this deck does not have life. The deck does not have life gain, so I just need to just find the soul spikes at this point. So here, I chose to play out Ring, just because, again, now I'm 11 and I don't have a shield, or my life total is at a bit more of a risk, so I just chose to play Ring for the fog, and then draw back up to 5 with Necro. And here I find both a soul spike and a shielder, so that's a pretty good draw. And here my opponent additionally, they forgot about the Damping Sphere attack, so they were intending to go Cosmic Command, play a new ring, but they couldn't because of Damping Sphere, so they just instead played this and passed. But anyway, now they're at 13 with and so now they're at 13, and I've got the Shieldred, so and I know they can't remove it. So here on end step, I Soul Spike just because, again, I'm playing Shieldred next turn. I'm not really playing any of these other cards, and because of Damping Sphere, I want to be able to fire off Soul Spikes. Here, Shieldred, draw cards. And so here I thought seize them just to make sure they didn't have anything that could ruin my day. They don't have any way to remove the Shieldred. So here I just draw 12. And did I find the Soul Spike here? Yep. So yeah, so I drew 12, drew 12. I can't Soul Spike this turn because of Damping Sphere, but they don't have Coastal Command. They'll just lose their ring, draw a card, then I Soul Spike them for lethal to win the first match. So then heading into round 2, I was against oops. I was against Light Spirit. So heading into this one, I don't think I knew what might have gone. But anyway, let me just, oops, I did not mean to skip through that. Sorry, this is my first time doing this. So I won the die roll again. Also, over the course of this tournament, I did get kind of lucky with die rolls. I was on the play all but 2 of my games. So this hand, it's got two soul spikes. Yes, I've got push Dotsies Bowmasters, but actually I think I did know my opponent was on Tron. But anyway, this hand doesn't really have a draw engine, only two lands. The soul spikes are pretty useless right now, so this is a pretty easy mulligan. And this hand is quite good. I've got turn one Thoughtseize. I've got turn one Thoughtseize, Necro lands. So I kept this, and I bought it on the meat hook. So I think I did know my opponent was on Tron. The meat hook wasn't going to be useful. So I fire off the turn one Thoughtseize to see a bunch of stuff. They had two lands, Utopia Sprawl, All's Dust, and then Portent, Mycospawn, Caustic. So I took the Utopia Sprawl just to try and cut them off mana, because this hand doesn't really do a ton unless they draw lands. So here I drew Ring, doesn't really change a ton, but and they top decked in Ugin's Labyrinth, which is not the best news for me. Anyway, here I play Necrodominance, and again, it's Tron, so you can afford to be fairly aggressive in this matchup. And so I chose to draw 10 going down to 8 because I figured if I don't find a Soul Spike, I want to have a little bit more of a buffer for to play with Shieldred. Anyway, I find one Soul Spike, I find the Shieldred, I find a couple of stuff, so I Soul Spike their face. Again, this matchup, there's not really a reason to hold the Soul Spikes. And here my opponent went Cosmic's Command for 1, choosing to make a token and draw a card. Anyway, so that for this hand, I chose to keep both Shieldreds, a Bowmasters, and a Necro, just because again, ring not really. Once I have enough card draw, I don't really need the ring to be able to fog, and I would want to prioritize having the Shieldreds and the Bowmasters to be able to deal damage. Since Tron is a game where you want to be able to win fast. So, but in hindsight, maybe I should have kept the Inquisition to try and go for the Portent of Calamity, so they couldn't try and spin into something massive next turn. So actually, I think in hindsight that might have been a mistake, where I was supposed to keep an Inquisition to be able to take the point of Calamity I knew about, and then next turn drop Shield and try to go for the win. But anyway, I draw 11, go to 27, and Soul Spike. I only drew one Soul Spike. But yeah, so in hindsight that was a mistake. If they hit something massive like an Emrakul, I just lose on the spot. But yeah, so anyway, they go Portent for 6, and they kind of did not. They kind of whiffed here. They found Ring, but they didn't find a way to handle a Shieldred, or really a way to do much of anything. So they Portented. I think they cast Ring for free, and with Shieldred, I drew. How many did I draw? I think I drew 10 here. Yeah, okay, so I drew 10 cards. Again, not really a point to draw the whole deck since I'm worried about potentially running out of win conditions. But here I have the spikes. I can't spike them because of ring protection, but for my hand, I keep double spike, double bowmaster. So yeah, so they go to 8. And here, so they targeted themselves to make a bunch of spawns and draw a card. Not really sure what they were digging for. I think it was most likely another portent to try and win the game. But now we have Bowmasters, and Spike for lethal, and we win the game. So here we did wait for them to tap out just in case they were running something weird, like consign, like actually not even sign, like spell pierce. But anyway, they did find the portent for 5, but we just soul spiked them and won the match. Okay, so heading into game 2 of this match, I think my sideboarding plan was mostly the same. I did actually board in one Force of Despair, and I didn't board in the Damping Spheres because they're not really all in on the Tron lands. So I boarded in one Force of Despair, one Surgical to snipe Emrakul since I'm running 11 Rumbles and stuff, as well as the Force of Despair, so I can try and hit any big Eldrazi that they spin into off the portent. But yeah, this game I remember I had a pretty good 7 where I have Thoughtseize Surgical as well as a turn 4 ring. I kept this. In hindsight, this might have been a little loose, but I think this hand's fine. I have a way to disrupt, as well as the fact that I have ring. So as long as I don't draw completely dead, this hand's fine. But yeah, my opponent mulliganed to 4. So yeah, in hindsight, again, maybe I should have mulliganed this hand, but my opponent went to 4 and is now just causally commanding just to cycle it. And I take the portent. I'm just going to speed through this game. My opponent pretty bricked, and I drew well. I drew the Dalthy. And here, I just totally blanked and forgot to attack with the Dalthy. I just clicked through it. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to play out the Arbitral as a threat. But yeah, and then I actually draw the Necrodominance here and Necro to 8, and I just find the Soul Spikes. Soul Spike them twice, discard a land, and they concede. So yeah, again, maybe I should have all in the opening hand, but my opponent bricked. I don't think there was much I could have done wrong in this matchup to lose it. Okay, so heading into round 3, this is going to be the first of many, many games against Boros Energy. Let me chat real quick. So my opponent revealed Gigantha, and I did know they were on energy. So my hand is Thoughtseize, Inquisition, Fatal Push, and 2 lands. I don't remember if I kept this hand or not. Okay, so I did choose the mulligan that hand. I am on the play, so maybe I should have kept it, but I was worried. I only had one actual removal spell, so I was worried about getting overrun by a Johnny. In hindsight, maybe I should have kept the hand, but I chose to mulligan this. Anyway, this hand is very good. We've got several points of interaction, enough lands, Boggart Trawler for Flage, so we're going to keep this and bin a Boggart Trawler. So they lead off in turn 1 guide. And so we're going to wait. We knew they were on Boros, so there's not really a reason to hold it in case they have something to flash in. They're going to play Amp Raptor. We'll push in response. And here they spin Ocelot Pry, which is annoying, but at least we have the Bowmasters to routinely answer it. So we drew another Soul Spike, not really what we want to see. So they attack, and we're going to Bowmasters. There is an option to go Bowmasters, Amperaptor, and the double block here. Not really a risk we need to take though, because we get blown up by removal cells. We're just going to kill that and take 2. Not really a reason to chump it. Here, Flage. And so here we draw Ring, which is one of the best draws we have. Unfortunately, we do have to play out the Boggart Bog when they have a Flage in the yard, but we do must have to hit land drops. And here they land Goblin Bombardment. So this is a pretty common theme throughout the entire league. This card is very annoying to deal with since they can blank all of the marches as well as the life gain from Soul Spikes, and we can't out it since I'm playing Mono Black. Not really any playable enchantment destruction. Yes, I know Withering Torment and Feed the Swarm exist, but there's just not really enough of a reason to play enchantment. But Goblin Bombardment is extremely annoying. So here we miss on lands, we find another Fatal Push, so at least we can answer if he plays any threats. And yeah, we considered jumping here, but again, not really that much of a reason to. And my lands a ring. I don't know why I sound surprised. I played this match. I know what happens. So yeah, so now we're actually not in that great of a spot since our opponent is now going to start drawing a bunch of cards with ring, and we don't have any of our engines online. And here it's going to get even worse for us since they're going to just. And here they're going to play Ocelot Pride. Here I should have pushed the Pride in response. I just forgot to set a stop. It doesn't matter. And I draw Necro, but at this point, it's too late to matter. Even if I Necro, I can only gain life by slow spiking him, and I can't draw too deep in the Necro or I just die to him sacking his board and attacking. There's not really like maybe I should have played Necro, drawn like 4 cards, tried to Soul Spike, but I don't think at this point there's anything I can do to win. Flays is just too much damage, and I can't really outgain the life, and he's just going to kill me. So I skipped it up. Might have been premature. I probably should have played it out and at least tried to go for it, but I don't think there was anything I could have done to win that. So again, boarding for energy, it's pretty basic. I on the play, I just boarded in the extra meat hook massacre and the and both surgicals to snipe Plage and just cut some Thoughtseizes because I don't really want the life loss. Although Thoughtseize hits the One Ring and Inquisition does not, I'm more concerned about the life loss than them landing a ring. Since typically them landing a ring isn't enough, they have to have a bunch of pressure plus that. So I'd rather just be able to handle their early threats without lost life. Anyway, so our opening hand is up very good. We've got Shielder, we've got Necro, we've got Interaction, we've got Lance. So we're going to keep this. So here they play Ocelot Pride. We decide to push it on end step. We could wait to see if we draw Bowmaster, but I figured, I figured I just wanted to push it now, and just be mana efficient. Anyway, here they land a Johnny, and so here we drop a Necro. So we already have Shieldred in hand, and we already have a land. So, and we're at 20 life. We don't need to be super aggressive here because we already have what we're looking for. I just chose to draw 4, and we found the Soul Spike. And I just decided to go face. Maybe I should have held it, but I wanted to keep Fatal Push. I wanted to keep both Shieldreds, and I wanted to keep the ring. Maybe I should have held it in case he tried to like flip a John with the Goblin Bombardment. But I think this is fine. Again, we're super far ahead. They're probably of energy. So anyway, here they actually do have a pretty good turn where they're able to go Guide of Souls and the Raptor and the Guide, and yes, but it's not going to matter. We have Shielder. We're about to gain 14 life and draw through a quarter of our deck. And so yeah, so we Soul Spike. We chose the surgical. Chose the surgical Ajani here just to see what our opponent had to work with. They've got a galvanic discharge, but they don't. They currently don't actually have the energy to do it, and we've got another backup Shieldred. Yeah, here we don't block our opponent's galvanic discharge. Our life total is not really a concern right now, and they just pass. And so we just kill both Guide Souls, attack with Shieldred, and this game is pretty much locked up. And so yeah, here we just try to draw down the 4. No reason to die to Bowmasters, but we're so far ahead it doesn't matter. And did we draw both Soul Spikes here? So we just Soul Spike to death, and we're at 54 life to end the game. Okay, so heading into our last thing against energy, our hand is 3 lands, Fell to Profane, March, Necrodominance with a Soul Spike. So I chose to keep this hand because we have the March to be able to handle early game pressure. We have a Soul Spike, we have a Necro. So we have interaction. We have the march. So I chose to keep. And so here I chose to march the Ocelot Pride. In hindsight, that might have been a mistake. Maybe I was supposed to wait one turn so I didn't have to exile another card to it. But here I figured I just wanted to avoid them snowballing since I'm going to be able to land Necro plus at least one spike next turn. And then, of course, I immediately draw the Meathook Massacre, so kind of punished for that decision since Meathook is very good at dealing with Ocelot Pride. At least now I don't have to use it. And it turns out my decision was a little bit correct because that could have gotten out of hand, but now I have the Meathook. I'm not really concerned about Ocelot Pride. So here I just choose to draw 5 cards. Maybe I could afford to be a bit more aggressive, but I was a little worried about them dropping Goblin Bombardment and being able to nullify the Meathook. But I figured since next turn it was more likely I was just dropping a Meathook instead of a Shieldred. I didn't really want to pay too much life, which is why I chose to go for a mild one. Anyway, I drew 2 Soul Spikes. I chose to go one face and hold the other, pitching a Bowmasters. So I did this in case my opponent. So if my opponent draws a Goblin Bombardment, I'm able to kill the Ajani before they can activate it to save some damage. And as it turns out, my decision to do this paid off. So they're going to attack with everything. And so they sacrifice the cat to flip a Johnny, which I let happen. And then before that, I'm going to Soul Spike it, leaving behind a meat. Again, Meat Hook's now not going to be as good as it was, but I can at least Meat Hook for one just to wipe out the cats and make it that I can't die to them without cards. Okay, and then I trigger Necronons again. I chose just to draw six six cards just because while I do need to find action at some point, I don't want to get too low to where I am at risk of just being like straight out aggroed out. But we didn't find a Shieldred, so not ideal. And they are able to flip into Bolt. We do have a Force and Spear. I chose not to force this just because I want to save it for like maybe like a bigger turn or a Flage. So I pass. I chose just to draw 2. I can't really be too aggressive here. But we found pretty much the best 2 cards we could have with the One Ring and Soul Spike. And here we bonus with Raptor. Kind of stinks with Goblin Bombardment, but they choose not to kill the Bowmaster and just keep us at 5. And here they have Exercise to remove the Meat Hook. And we're going to Bowmasters their face. Not really a point of holding it now that they have the Goblin Bombardment in play. So yeah, just attack with everything, play Ring. At this point, I'm in the mode of I just need to find. I just need to find. I just need to find life gain, and then eventually close out the game. So here, once again, now with Ring in play, I don't want to go too insane with Necro, but I figured I did this, and I finally fired off the Soul Spike to go face. So I did this now while I was under ring protection to avoid losing something stupid like getting burned out with double lightning bolt. But yeah, now our opponent has Fear Fire foes to wipe our board, which is kind of annoying, but at this point it's unlikely to matter since we're just going to drop Shield and control the game. Yeah, and so here we chose to draw with Ring in response to the fetch in case they had either double Volt or Celestial Purge. We probably should have waited for the we could have waited for the Necro to trigger go on the stack, but and what we could have done, but it's not. There's not really that much of a difference. And we draw another Shieldred, and so they actually do have double Galvanic Discharge to handle the Shieldred. But here we're just going to draw one, and we've got another Shield in play. They have Ring, but at this point it's too late for that to matter. And again, typically energy for us to beat for them to have Ring do anything, you need to have it be accompanied with pressure. So we're just going to Shieldred, draw with Ring, and then just draw 12 cards, just find our Soul Spikes and win the game. And they conceded from here because we're just going to. We didn't actually find a Soul Spike, but we have another shield in hand. We can just do this next turn. They're not coming back from this. Okay, so now heading into round 4, this was against Turlolo04, who I think once again I knew was on energy. For over the course of the event, I did know most of my opponent's decks, which was certainly a help. Then again, if anybody had looked online, they could have pretty easily figured out I was going to play Necrodominus for this, so kind of double-edged sword. But anyway, they revealed Jugantha. This hand is quite good on the play against energy, so we're going to keep this. We do need to find a third land, but we have interaction, we have Necrodominance. And so here we see the hand. It's not the best. They have Arena plus 2 Flages, which we currently don't have an answer for. And to top that all off, they top deck the Oslo. Right. Luckily, we did draw Bowmaster, so at least we can handle it. So yeah, here we attack with both. Maybe we were supposed to leave back in case we had Ragged Man, but I figured at this point, we know that there's double Flage. We just want to end this game. So again, here we chose not to hold the Soul Spike because I figured my opponent's next turn is most likely just going to be Flage packs. And so here we have another interesting decision point. So I could have slammed Shieldred, drawn a bunch of cards, and then tried to do something with Soul Spike. But here I chose just to pass, only draw a couple, and then hold up Mark of Wretched Sorrow and or the Fatal Push for Flage. They figured my opponent's next turn is most likely just going to be Arena of Glory plus Fade. Flage, I know that they have it in hand. So here they chose not to exert it for some reason. I don't really know why they did that, but it doesn't. I don't. But it doesn't matter. Now I don't have enough cards in the graveyard, and we can kill it. So now we have the full window to slam the Shieldred and go nuts this turn. And here we actually just drew triple Soul Spike to win the game. So yeah, this could have gotten maybe a little dicey if they'd been able to get another Flage, but sometimes you just draw 3 Soul Spikes to win the game. Okay, so now game 2. We're on the draw. Again, pretty much the same sideboarding plan. This isn't going to really change, except on the draw we are going to side in the additional force of the spare for the 4th Thoughtseize. And so this hand, it's 1 land, we're going to ship it, we can't keep it. This hand, we have Inquisition, we have March, we have lands. It's unlikely a 5 is going to be much better, so we're going to keep this. And they have turn 1 Guide of Souls, which is really not great. But here, we Inquisition to see double Orm's Chance, Static Prison, 1 ring. So we took the Static Prison because we need our 1 ring to be able to do stuff, and they have 2 Orange Chance, which is going to be a little annoying later. So here we play the Fellmire tapped. So here we could march the guy, but we choose to just let it hit us for one in case they play something a bit more threatening. So here they play an Ocelot Pride, which is another interesting decision. So I chose to let the Pride resolve, and then before end step kill the Ocelot Pride because we know their hand doesn't have a ton of threats. So the Ocelot Pride is going to snowball much faster than the Guide of Souls will with their hand. And here we end up ripping a Fatal Push for the Guide of Souls, and we're just going to kill it. And here they're going to Worms Chant us, which is a little annoying. And they did find a second chance, and I see that they boarded in High Noon, which is not something we're super worried about, but it can, which is not something we're super worried about, but it is definitely quite annoying. So that's going to be something to keep in mind for future games. And here they Worms Chant again, and here we draw Ring, we draw Shieldred, so we're in a pretty good spot. They do have Goblet of Bones. So here we're just going to burn the Bowmasters, not really a sense in holding it. I'm actually trying to remember how I lost this game because it seems like I'm in a really good spot. All right, so they drew the Static Prison. Oh right, they had Static Prison plus a John. This is now starting to come back to me. So they're able to kill both our creatures and having a Johnny in play, which is kind of annoying. But here we have to play Ring. Don't have anything else we can do, and we draw the Necrodominus, which is definitely nice. So here, opponent does have to hit himself with the Ajani since that's not a May. But yeah, here we made a slight mistake. I was thinking I wanted to barter draw their graveyard to like avoid the way from like a for, to avoid a flage, but I just forgot they had ring protection. So I probably should have not played out the trawler, and I should have just played out the necro and tried to for an answer for Johnny. So that was definitely a mistake, but yeah. But I was more worried about us losing life, and I wanted to just leave the ring card draw. So I didn't think I needed to, but they just managed to clown Carr into a very very annoying board of Guide of Souls, Amped Raptor. So yeah, in hindsight, we should have played the Necrodoms. We should have played out the Necrodoms there just to try and find something, but I don't know what we could have drawn that would have made a significant difference in how that turned out. Like we should have tried. We should have, in hindsight, put on Necro Dominance, drawn a bunch of cards, tried to kill the Ajani. But yeah. So anyway, game three, we are once again on the play, and we draw a very good hand against energy. Double Bowmasters, turn one Inquisition. We don't have a third land, which is not ideal, but we're going to keep this. And so we Inquisition and then see Guide of Souls, Ajani, Flage. So we're going to take the Guide of Souls to say he doesn't have a clean turn one play. We don't have Fatal Push. And we top deck a one ring, which is decent, just not really what we want. And they're going to bin Ocelot Pride. And here they drew Ramp Raptor into a Johnny. So in other words, just energy doing energy things. Why does this deck exist, Wizards? So here they're going to attack with everything. And so here we chose not to block just because we figured we can kill the Ajani with a Soul Spike if we need to. and the fact that if this, once we find a land, we're going to be able to Necro for Soul Spike. So here we chose to draw 8 cards. Maybe we should have been a bit more aggressive, but I think 8 cards is fine. But anyway, we hit the pretty much best possible case of a double Soul Spike and Surgical for Flage. So we do it now just so we don't have to see, just so we have to see it, and we see a bunch of lands and Johnnies, so we know we're super far ahead. And so here now that we know our opponent doesn't have removal, there's not really a reason to keep both Shieldreds. And yeah, here again, there's not really a reason to chump. We're gonna have infinite life with Shieldred. And then here we chose to spike the Ajani just because we figured really the only way we lose at this point is if they draw Goblin Barman flipping Ajani to dealing insane burst damage. We didn't need to, but at this point we just want to play it super safe. And they do like Fine Ring, which is a little annoying, but Shielder definitely does a good job of taxing it. And here we did attack, which was kind of a mistake, but we just played Ring. We don't really need the card draw, so it's mostly for the fog. And here we chose just to draw modestly because we don't want to risk a bunch of soul spikes. Here they did actually find the static version for the Shieldred, which is not ideal. But again, we're not super concerned about this because like they have to be aggressive here. We've got so much life, so much cards, and too much interaction for them at this point for it really to matter. So yeah, there's not really that much more in this game that's worth talking about. They do find the Goblin Barb to handle the Bowmasters, which is a little irritating, but at this point it's kind of too little too since we're just going to kill the guy's souls. And here, when we surgical them, we knew they didn't have any instant speed life gain, so we know that this is going to. So we have ring protection. We just need to draw enough to for soul spike be lethal, and they're just going to die to their ring. And we won the match. Okay, so heading into round 5, we were super excited to start off 4-0. And so this is, I think, this might have been the first match where I officially didn't know my opponent was on. But we're on the play once again, and they reveal Gigantha. So let me go. Sorry, let me go back to that opening hand. Well, not really much to talk about, but yeah. So this hand, when I see Gigantha, Gigantha signals either I'm hoping it's energy, but it could either be Storm or Zoo. And do nothing turn 3 Necro is not great against any of those decks. So even though we have turn 3 Necro, turn 4 Shieldred, we are going to mulligan this just for more early interaction. And so this hand has only one land, so we are unfortunately have to mulligan that. But this hand is pretty all right. We've got a little bit of early interaction. We've got ring, so we're gonna keep this and put back an extra shoulder and a boggart trawler. And here we Inquisition our opponent to get the bad news that it's Zoo. So our opponent's hand is is not the best. They didn't open any of the really annoying stuff for Zoo. They didn't open a way to answer the ring. But we're just gonna take the Ragged Man just because we can't let that get away with the game. So here we draw Bowmasters, which is good, so we can handle their Bowmasters. And so here our opponent went for a Surveil land, which I thought this was interesting. I thought that must mean that they found another fetch land, but as you can see, they did not. And so they play the very sad 2/2 Territorial Kavu. And so we IOK them to see that their hand is a useless ley line and a bunch of cards that don't really do much right now. So we're just going to take the Territorial Kavu just because we don't want them to potentially risk having a really big creature. Yeah, not much to talk about right now. They're going to discard. We kill the Kavu. But yeah, Zoo is one of the matchups that I was most worried about with this deck, since we currently don't have a ton of great ways to handle all of their fast burn plus ways to answer our draw engines very favorably. And if they drop Leyline Scion, the game is effectively over since we don't have a ton. We don't have any ways to out of game one outside of a massive meat hook. In game two, it's basically you have to have Force and Spare immediately or you lose. But yeah, here I just played up the second Bowmaster. I figured they were breaking. Eventually, they would find their land, so we just wanted to be aggressive here. And then I played the ring, get protection, start the card draw engine. And they did top deck Flage, but they do have Flage Arena, which could be a problem for us. But we did top deck the Boggart Trawler, so now we just need to dodge Flage for one turn, and we're fine. And so here they played Steamman's Tapped. I truly have no idea why they didn't shock this in, go to 8, and escape Flage attack us. Which, if they had done that, they presumably would have had to kill our Shieldred, but then we have to fatal push the Flage. We're still in a very very good position because we're still in a very good position because then next turn we can just Boggart Trawler, get rid of the Flage permanently, and we still have Ring going. But it is an interesting decision as to why they chose not to go for that. So here we're going to fatal push, clear the way and attack. And here we find out that the reason why is they had Leyline Binding. So we're just going to draw in response. And so here we're just going to fire Thoughthies, and we see opponent had Leyline, Double Scion, Bowmaster, Gigantha. So we're just going to take both Scions, just because we don't really want to have to deal with them. And then Boggart Trawler away their graveyards that they can't Flage us. But yeah, I truly have no idea why our opponent didn't try to Arena Flage. But yeah, now they play Gigantha, but it's too late. It's not nothing. It's not going to matter. So we're just going to hit them down to 3. Land on new ring for protection. And we found another Bowmaster to handle their Bowmasters. Yeah, they main phased it. I don't know why they did. Also, don't know why they did that. But yeah, now we know the last card in hand is Gigantha, so we can just kill them by going Felt Profane, kill the 3/3, and attack with our 1/1s. Yeah, so some questionable plays from our opponent, but you do need to get a little lucky to beat Zoo. Let me make sure this is still recording. Perfect. So game 2 against Zoo, we're on the draw after sideboarding. I touched upon this briefly, but cut a soul spike doesn't really line up into their threats well. You cut the meat hook because unless you're casting it for a lot of mana, it's typically not doing anything. And then cut one Inquisition. You do unfortunately have to leave Thoughtseizes in this matchup because of Leyline Binding and Scion. And we board in the two Forces of Despairs and one Surgical to handle Flage. Yes, this is our hand. We've got Necro, Bowmasters, Agademes. We're going to mulligan that because Bowmasters is not great into Zoo, and we'd rather have like actual Fatal Push. But this hand, we're not going to mulligan on a 6. We might have mulliganed that on the 7. Got lands, and they're going to play Ragavan, which is annoying. We can't answer that immediately. And they hit a useless spell to profane into a 4. So our opponent did not open Leyline Scion, but they did have a much better start than last time. So here they're going to do that, and then we're going to. And we chose to just jump here. There's not really a reason to take 4. And they drew a second Ragavan. So we're going to Thoughtseize them here, and we see Stubborn Denial, Leyline's Guild Pact, Arid Mesa. I'm not really sure why they didn't go. I'm not really sure why they didn't go crack Wooded Foothills for black mana, then Stubborn Denial it, so I can't. Actually, I'm not sure why they didn't just Stubborn Denial this, so I couldn't see that their hand was nothing. But anyway, at this point, we have Ring. We can't really afford to let him keep the Stubborn Denial, so we're going to take that. So yeah. So here we kind of unfortunately have to jump the right. We can't let them risk. We can't risk them hitting something annoying off the top. And they've just played a Leyline's Guild Pact. So here we ring. They did top deck another Stubborn Denial into the third Ragavan. So kind of unfortunate luck for but and they did hit a one ring off the top, which would have been annoying if they could have cast it, but fortunately for us, they cannot. So here we're just going to slam another one ring and draw, and we hit an Inquisition. And here they're just going to immediately lead away with Gigantha, which not sure if I personally agree with, but definitely reasonable. So here we're going to draw a ring, and then we're going to fire off an Inquisition here because we know we're at least hitting a Ragavan. And we see Ragavan Wear Tear. We're going to take the Ragavan. So now we know he's a Wear Tear. There's not really a point in playing this, and we just Soul Spike now. We could have held it in case my opponent tried to play out a dash Ragavan, but we figured I just wanted to avoid something stupid happening, like it like like it getting countered or having to pay mana like burn. Yeah. Again, probably should have held it. Not really that much of a difference. And now here we're going to go to 2. Yeah, here we probably should have soul spiked. We should have soul spiked him before to play around double bolt. And here he has Bowmaster, so we're going to fatal push it. Now we're going to soul spike his face and water trawler him. So here we chose not to block. But he has Tribal Flame, you're already dead. So we just decided to go for so we decided not to block and go for and kill the Orc Army token like this. And we win the match. So yeah, overall we definitely did get a bit lucky against Zoo, but and played a little bit loose, but we now jump off to 5-0, which is a very good start, and I was very happy about this. Oops. Let me go back to this. I'm going to take a quick break before we start. I just need to get some. I'm going to take a quick break before we start this, but I promise you there are other matchups other than energy, but this is another energy matchup, unfortunately. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, heading into round 6, my opponent I once again knew was on energy. And so this hand, no lands, we obviously have to mulligan that. And for this hand, we have interaction, we have shoulder, we don't have a draw engine, but we're going to keep this hand since it's possible of 5 just when we were. Oh no, we did choose to mulligan that. Yeah, in hindsight, probably should have kept it. But yeah, here we kept this. We should have kept our 6 site, but I don't know if we would have wanted to go down to 4 with this since we have castle, we have interaction, not get steamrolled. And here we held the Inquisition. We know our opponent has Flage. We don't know if they have anything else in hand, so we don't want to force them to discard Flage. So here, Nazis don't see 3 lands, but they're just going to escape Flage, which we currently cannot answer. But yeah, we did top deck Shieldred, and now we're basically forced to trade Shield in our Flage. And our opponent has Guided Soul and Goblin Varmint. Into a Johnny. So yeah, so now we're just in a really bad spot. Draw a card. We actually did find the March to clear the Johnny. But yeah, here our opponent's just going to play Gigantha, and we don't really have that much counterplay left to this. Thoughtseize see our useless Inquisition. And we're dead. So yeah, in hindsight, if I just go back to that, not that. Yeah, I truly am not sure why I mulliganed this hand. Looking back on this, I guess I was afraid that on the draw, I would just get like run over by turn 1 Guide of Souls, and and turn one Guide of Souls, not finding like a draw engine. So yeah, I in hindsight, this hand I probably should have kept and not gone to five, but and then when I did roll again five, you're on four, but this hand is not a great six without any sort of draw engine or like hard removal such as Fatal Push. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the six would have gone. The six certainly would have gone better than the five, but I don't know how well it would have gone. But yeah, overall, definitely not the best decision by me, but it's fine. So yeah, so anyway, boarding in and then boarding against Mardu specifically, pretty much the same as Boros. Sorry, sorry about that. There we go. So this hand, we have Surgical, we have Meat Hook, but two Soul Spikes aren't going to do anything. We're going to mulligan this hand. It doesn't really have a great plan. And in this hand, we have Meat Hook, Necro, Shieldred, one ring. This hand is an easy keep, so we're going to keep this and put back another Necro. They do have Thoughtseize, so maybe we were supposed to put back a ring instead of a Necro. But I do think ring is good enough in this matchup where we do want to have it. So they're going to Thoughtseize us, take Meat Hook, and we're going to immediately draw the second copy. So Thoughtseize Bug is Brielle and Moto. Alright, so now they go Guide of Souls, and now they have double Guide of Souls, which is kind of irritating. Luckily for us, we were third land, never didn't have it. And here, we don't draw a ton. We have Shieldred, so there's not really a reason to. And here, they unfortunately do have Bowmasters. So here, so here we're going to meat hook for one to kill the Bowmasters and the Orc already took before killing the big Guide of Souls. So here, we don't want to draw a ton just because we are afraid of that getting burned out and we already have a Shieldred. So we don't need to Desperation dig for Soul Spike yet. Luckily, our opponent didn't find a threat to make that big, so we're just going to slam Shieldred. And so here we want to keep a ring, Shieldred, Fatal Push, Castle, Surgical. None of these other cards really matter. Typically against energy, you want to be able to keep and sandbag the Surgical for Flage if you can, as well as to have a backup Shielder and backup Draw Engine. And then at that point, maybe at this point we weren't supposed to keep the castle, and we're supposed to keep we're supposed to keep a ring for like fog, but and supposed to keep another ring for a fog or an inquisition. But I figured just making sure to hit the land drop, so if you eventually go like Shieldred plus more removal, it wouldn't be a bad thing. So they're going to duress. We'll kill in response. Could have fired off the surgical, but it, there's not really much we want a surgical in his deck anyway. If he hits that over the ring, which we've won, nice that Toss sees us again. We let it go. If he wants to take the surgical instead of the second shielder, we're going to let him. So he does now find Static Prison for that. So now that we're not facing a ton of pressure, we're going to draw just six. Again, you can't go too low against energy. You find a Soul Spike to live a bit more. So now he's got Bombardment. In response, we're going to hit the Swordfish Bowmasters just so that if he wants to Bowmasters in response to this, we'll be able to Bowmasters his Bowmasters back. And here we see Amp Raptor and the Dream. So unfortunately, he does have a creature, and he's going to draw. We're going to Bowmasters. He does run into another static person. We're just going to get his graveyard at this point, just to maintain it for Flage. We have more left. And we're just going to draw, and we will kill him with Orcish Bowmasters. So yeah, again, most of these energy schemes go like this. It's not the most interesting thing to watch, but it's basically you just need to survive until you can land your draw engine before burning them out. And a lot of times, even if they land a ring, it's not going to matter since you'll be too far ahead. So now heading into game 3, we are once again on the draw. So this hand is once again his hand's energy, very, very good. We have interaction, we have Necro, and we're going to keep this. Pro's going to Thoughtseize us. He is going to take the Necro, unfortunately. But we top deck ring, so it's not the worst thing in the world. So here we did find surgical. We found surgical, which is good against Flage. And here he's going to Bowmasters us. And here we chose to push the Bowmasters. We know we're going to do it at some point. There's certainly an argument for waiting to see if he plays something more threatening. But for the most part, if he does, we could just march it for a little march and just go march 2 if it's like a Guide of Souls or an Osla Pride. So maybe in hindsight we were supposed to wait, just take the 1, then push it on end step, but it's not that big of a deal, and I think certainly the 1 damage could matter in this matchup. Anyway, my opponent's going to play Ring. Draw another Ring, which is certainly useful. Into dominance. My opponent finally exercised to answer our Ring and plays Giganta. Luckily for us, we drew another copy of One Ring. And we found a Soul Spike. And so our opponent just slams Giganta. So once my opponent just goes to slam Giganta, I know they don't have much going on. They played Bombardment. Ring. So yeah, so now they're chaining rings, but once again, it doesn't really matter because they need to kill us, and we're going to do a much better job crushing them, especially now that we've landed Shieldred. So now they're going to flage, and so they're going to flage us, and in response to that trigger, we're going to surgical it, and they had another one in hand. And I can see that they can't actually remove flage super easily, so they're going to do that. Now they killed it, but that's gonna hit her Or a trawler, but it doesn't matter that. And here we draw 2 Soul Spikes, we draw Bowmasters. Fortunately, the March is kind of weak into that, but we're going to kill the Gaia Souls in response. He's going to Dream Steal and Oil us, and we're going to Bowmasters him. So he's not wolf on this. So here he duresses us. I decided to let this go. I probably should have soul spiked here because I'm going to lose one anyway, so I may as well use one and lose one rather than just losing one. But I figured there's a chance I want to be able to keep the Necro Dominance in case he has an answer for the One Ring. Of course, this did not end up working out because my opponent goes with Johnny. Into a Thoughtseize to take the other souls. And another Recon. So now we're not in the best spot. We draw another Shieldred, so we can just land Shieldred Necro. So I guess my decision did sort of pay off, and here we're just going to draw to 4. So now, unless they can answer this, they're just dead to their ring. And we win the game. Because they have Bowmasters, but there's no way they can burn us out for 16. So yeah, maybe I was supposed to play the. I definitely should have kept that opening hand for game 1 on the 6. Maybe I was supposed to Soul Spike, but overall that ended up being the correct decision, and I jumped off to 6-0. So heading into round 7, this was once again energy. This was yeah. So again, this hand is good against energy. This being a tap lane is kind of awkward, but typically they were probably going IOK Thoughtseize in turn 1-2 anyway, unlikely to matter that much. So we're going to Inquisition our opponent to see Guide of Souls, Containment Priest, and Jolly Balloon Man. So I was kind of confused at this, but at this point I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take the Guide of Souls. I don't really care about the other stuff in the sand. We're going to seize Jolly Balloon Man because I didn't really care about the Guide of Souls. And so at this point we're in a pretty good spot. And my opponent goes Amp Corruptor and Ocelot, which is always fun. We draw another 4-drop. Spoiler alert, this game does not really go that well for me. He's now going to put in Gigantha. And we're going to draw another card we can't cast. And at this point, we're just going to Desperation Soul Spike it. We have another Necrodominance, so it's in the world. We just need to not die. But of course, he drew another Ocelot Pride. And then has a Containment Priest. And so, this was interesting. He plays Lush Portico. I didn't know what he was splashing for, but I did assume that meant it was either something like Gaddock Tea. I thought it meant there was going to be a Gaddock Tea for game 2, so that was worth noting. Anyway, my opponent does this. I go for Dustle Pride. Maybe he's supposed to go for the Ragavan, but at this point he's so far ahead that if he high rolls, that it's not really going to matter much. And my opponent steals a Shielder off the top that I can't cast anyway. I draw another useless card. And here I just scoop it up. It's too far. He's too far ahead. Even if I drew land next turn, I can't. I can't draw. I can't dig far enough for it. I can't dig far enough for it to matter because I can't dig far enough for it to matter. Again, this might have been a little premature. Maybe I should have gone March X3, kill that, go to 12. We get hit down to 7, and then if we draw a land, we can go Necro draw a couple. So again, this concession was probably a little premature, but I don't think we were going to win this game. And I was mostly just yeah. So this concession in hindsight was definitely premature. I could have gone Mark X3, kill the Ragavan, drop Necro. I guess I would have to absolutely. I guess I'd have to absolutely go. I guess I'd have to absolutely go for broke, pray to find Soul Spike, plus then like land Shielder the following turn. Again, it's highly unlikely we're winning the match, but I guess I should. I guess I should have played to all my outs. Yeah. Again, so now we're on the draw game 2 or play game 2. And so, sorry, I gotta remember not to skip past the opening hands. So this hand, we have lands, but double Soul Spike's pretty bad. And we got turn 1 push, turn 2 Bowmasters, but without a draw engine and 2 Soul Spikes, we're gonna ship that hand. This hand is pretty good, pushing position, 1 ring Shieldred with Bogger Color. So we're gonna keep this. I believe we chose to bottom the Shieldred just because we thought we'd be able to find another we wanted lands. And so here we take the Pride. In hindsight, maybe here I was supposed to take the Haywire Might to guarantee that I can play the Ringland 4 and just go turn 1 push the and go turn 1 and just go let him play the Pride in turn 1 and then push it the following turn. So I think this was a slight mistake, but his hand is very, very good. And as you can see here, it will only get better. So yeah, and then I guess we also did now learn that the Green Slash was for Questing Druid and Haywire Might, which was not what I was expecting in it. But yeah, we draw the 4th land. But now here's the problem where we can't really run out the 1 ring into the Haywire Might. But our opponent did hit very well off the Questing Druid and has the Haywire Might. And now we're going to run out the Shielder. Again, can't really run out the we can't really run it out into the we can't really run out the ring into the Haywire Might. Opponent drew Static Frozen anyway, so that was unlikely to matter that much. Since yeah, so our opponent did draw us the Static Frozen, meaning even if we did have ring, we were only drawing 1 card off it before it was getting hit. We draw another Soul Spike, which is really not ideal. Our opponent plays Phelia. Here we draw. At this point, we're basically just digging for Meat Hook. Here we do Soul Spike the Might just so we can get the ring going, but at this point, it's kind of late for that to matter since we just find Meat Hook. And our opponent found the Static Frozen anyway, so it doesn't matter. And here we draw. It doesn't really matter. Like, yes, we could have marched something, but we're not getting out of this. Like, I guess if we march we march Phelia, we just take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, we're taking 12 damage next turn, so we'll be at a super low life total. Again, we probably should have marked Phelia and just hoped that some rip the meat of following turn that we were dead. So in hindsight, that was a bad. Wait, now our opponent is Gigantha in hand. We're super dead to the arena in Gigantha. So never mind. So yeah, so now we're 6-1, heading into round 8, and their opponent this time, we knew that they weren't on they were not on energy. They were on a Broodscale combo, which is not a matchup I was super prepared for. So yeah, so I think I knew they were on this beforehand, but it's just confirmed that since no other deck plays that card. So here, I played out the Bowmasters, figuring in this matchup it was unlikely there was going to be a ton of X1 that was hitting with it, especially now there's already an artifact, so it's not like it's going to snipe a Saga construct. Yeah, I guess going back, maybe I shouldn't have kept this hand, but I figured I had interaction for the early Broodscale combo stuff, and it wasn't like Tron, and I had the castle, so I figured as long as I did that, so I figured as long as I hit a draw engine, it was fine, and that having the early interaction was important, so I didn't die. So here was another interesting choice. My opponent Kozilek's command to make a creature, which I chose to ping with the Bowmaster's token so that my opponent couldn't drop Ring or like Sowing Mycospawn or get set up for the Infinite combo. So here they had Sowing Mycospawn plus Vexing Mob. This was concerning that it was main deck. So here, and again, I thought sees them to see Stirring, Broodscale, Rumble, Fleshbreaker. So this was a tricky decision. Maybe here I was supposed to take the Broodscale. The problem was my opponent has 2 card selection spells, so they can just find another one. So here I figured just taking the Fleshbreaker because it was the most irreplaceable card, and I'm just trying to be on the beatdown plane for this game. In hindsight, I should have not kept that 7 and mulligan for a better opener with a draw engine in it, but I hadn't played this matchup before. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to be looking for. So here they rumble, hit their saga, play the brood scale, they assemble similar combo. We can stop it with the fatal push. We thought seize them, take the agent's turn, not much of a choice. But here we're just gonna die to saga token beat down because we have a draw engine. So our opponent makes a big construct token. We draw an Inquisition, or we draw a castle and Inquisition him. Makes another token. We take the Ancient Rings. And yeah, the rest of this game is just making really, really big tokens that we can't answer. So yeah, I guess going back, looking at this was round 8. So yeah, going back and looking at this, I probably should have mulliganed this hand. I Yeah, this hand I definitely in hindsight this hand I'm not really sure why I kept this. I was just hoping that I guess I was hoping that I could try and be more aggressive with this hand and go like turn 2 Bowmasters, turn 3 Bar Trawl, and try and go on the beatdown path while having like Fatal Push. And if I drew Ring, Ring or Necro, this hand was quite good. But in hindsight, I definitely should have mulliganed this hand. So here, this hand is very good. We have Douthie as a threat. We have Fatal Push. Oh, I guess for sideboarding, I should open that up. So here we boarded out a Fatal Push and some spikes because we saw the Vexing Bauble. We didn't think the Meat Hook was going to matter. Was likely to matter. He doesn't have a ton of X1s for Bowmasters. We cut some One Rings because I was afraid of taking Needle out of the Karn board, and the fact that tapping up for Ring was a little risky in this matchup. And board in the Break the Ices, the Douthies, and that was pretty much it. Again, I also probably misboarded here. I just had never played this matchup before, so did not know how to best approach it. And again, in hindsight, I should have mulliganed that hand game one, and I should not have boarded out the Fatal Push here since you want to have all the cheap interaction. But I suspect this matchup is just simply quite difficult due to the fact that Saga is an annoying card for us to deal with, and the fact that like Vexing Bauble plus the card package. We tap out for Douthie. We could have pushed Nia Halfling, but we wanted to get a threat down. We got punished for it since we got Cosmic commanded, but we've pushed the Halfling now. Okay, our opponent has Ring. We're going to bring back. Rumbles. What did they hit? They got a Vista bidding a basking Broodscale. So here we found the Shieldred, which is good. Here, opponent stirrings. They draw. I think they were trying to dig for something to protect the Broodscale, but they just played another ring. And here we decided to kill the halfling. In hindsight, I'm not totally sure why I decided to do that, but yeah, here we just decided to gain a bunch of life and just find the soul spikes, and our opponent is very, very dead. If he can't, his opponent is very, very dead next turn. And we go for the brute scale, and our opponent concedes here. Like, yes, they have ring protection, but we're just going to soul spike in death next turn. Or actually, we only drew one. I guess our opponent didn't realize that we boarded out two of them. So yeah, again, in hindsight, I probably should not have marched the halfling. I probably should have like left mana up here in case my opponent had like some infinite combo and just tried to not and done that. But I don't think there was a ton of ways our opponent could have won this, so it's fine. Oh, actually, I do know why I marched the halfling. I marched the halfling because I wanted to dig for surgical extraction to go for the basking brew scale, which is why I went down to one. So yeah, so then heading into game three, I definitely changed how I boarded for game three. So yeah, I've decided to go for only two Douthies. I still boarded out some spikes and some Bowmasters, but I decided to leave in all the cheap interaction, board out some rings, and board out some spikes just to try and win the game through Shieldred and like being able to cheaply interact. So here, this hand, I don't remember. I think we kept this. I can't imagine we mulligan that. Yes, we keep this. We've got disruption. We've got ring. We've got removal. So here we're going to thought seize our opponent to see. We're going to see Fleshbreaker, Saga. We're going to see Fleshbreaker, Wayscape, Battle Make, Relic. So we took the Fleshbreaker. His hand doesn't really do a ton. So we're just going to take the Fleshbreaker. The Saga is annoying though. He's going to Cosmos Command himself. Just to cycle it. I'm not sure why he main phased that. We're going to Thought Season. We'll take the Wayscape Battle Mage so we can land the ring. Unfortunately, the relic is kind of annoying, though. He's going to be able to play it and then insulate himself from surgical extraction. Taking off the 11 rumble. And we're just going to get a bog controller. We just want to get a creature out. I don't block her out so we can't infinite combo us and kill us. And here the relic is kind of irritating that we now can't kill him with it. So he's going to jump with happening. So yeah, we probably shouldn't have attacked with Barbertrolla, but we do need to kill her opponent at some point. And so here we drew Surgical, which is unfortunately kind of a blank draw because of the rolling. And our opponent does find the basket scale, plays a Vexing Bauble, which now blanks the Soul Spike. Again, I could have Soul Spiked in response to the Vexing Bauble. The reason why I did not was because I wanted to be able to try and go Inquisition, hit the Broodscale, and then at some point hopefully draw the other surgical extraction to be able to go for the Broodscale in response to or and then try and find the other surgical. I probably should have fired it off in response, but here my opponent fails Summer. We left up the interaction so we can kill the Broodscale that's coming down. And he equips. We're going to march it in response. He's going to draw the second. He's going to draw the second Veil of Summer. And he's going to combo, get infinite mana, and eventually he goes for Cosmic's Command, drops through his whole deck. We'll find it. And then once you get two of them, he's going to make that infinitely big, and we can no longer win. So, yeah. And so we scoop this up rather than make my opponent click through that. So yeah, again in hindsight, we should have mulliganed that hand game one, and I think the boarding plan needs to be to try and play interactive, but also win fast. So it probably involves cutting. Maybe you cut all the rings in that matchup. I'm not 100% sure. At any rate, I think that matchup was definitely a tough one. So then heading into round 9, we were sitting at 6-2 with third place in the breakers, where we went up against the eventual winner of the tournament, 336, 767, etc. So I did know my opponent was on energy before this, and so this hand was not the best against energy. Only 1 point of interaction, do nothing until turn 4. We kept that just because we have interaction, we have Shieldred, we've got Castle to draw our way out of it. And it's possible the fight could go even worse. So we look for our opponent has a very very so our opponent doesn't have a great hand. Like they have Goblin Barn, which is annoying. We have to take the Raglands. We can't answer it. At the very least, we know we took our opponent's one drop. So surely they're not going to play a one drop, right? Nope, they're going to top deck Pride. So we do have draw the Meat Hook. And so now we're going to take the Goblin Varmint. So that our meat hook will do something. But it's fine. They don't have a 2-drop, so we're fine here. Oh, they top deck Guide of Souls. So now, unfortunately, the castle being a tap land is a little awkward here. And now they're going to Flage us. 9. And attack us. We're going to be at 4 life. They're going to make a catch. So now we only have 1 land. So we could meat hook X1, go to 7, but then they go hit us to 4. And if they have Flage, we're just in a really tough spot. So we decided to pass with the plan being to go march the Guide of Souls, hit Soul Spike, but it drew another Ocelot Pride, which is hilariously actually pretty good for us in this case. So here we're going to go march the Guide of Souls. We should have done this in response to the Ocelot Pride, but we wanted to see if he was going to try and pump up the Guide of Souls itself, which is why we. But anyway, he's going to do it, so we don't gain the life. We'll go to 1. And our opponent's going to make a bunch of cats that are immediately going to die this meat hook. We draw the 4th land for Shieldred, which is nice. So luckily, our opponent does not have a 4th land for their ring. And we're going to play the shield. And we're going to play up the Shieldred, just because again we know our opponent has Galvanic Discharge. We know our opponent can't really answer it super easily right now, so we just wanted to get that out there to start gaining passive life. We're going to play just to 4, and we're going to draw a ring. We're going to attack. And we chose to play out the Aghanim. It might have been more correct to hold it in case we need a Soul Spike or try and bring something back, but I think playing it out is fine. They'll draw the 3 charm from the meat hook. At this point, it's going to show up. And we top deck the Necrodominant, so we're going to go push the Guide, attack with Shieldred, Necro, draw 13, and I think our opponent had enough here. Now they're at 31 life, and they concede. So, yeah. I don't know how I won that game, but meat hook, main deck meat hook, very good. So heading into game 2, unfortunately this hand would be amazing if we had the lands, but we don't, so we have to mulligan that. This hand is decent. We've got the Force and Despair, we've got the March, we've got the Inquisition. This hand's quite good. We decided to bin the 3rd land there, figuring it's reasonably likely we'll find a 3rd land. The opponent does have Guide. We could Force Despair, but I figured holding it for a turn 2 Amp Wrapper was better. So we're in Inquisition. See your opponent. His only non-land is Blade, but he does have 4. He does have Arena, so that's a little irritating. We're gonna do this. We'll play this past because our plan is going to be to most likely March, kill the Guide of Souls. And our opponent top decks a Johnny. Here we let this go because our plan is going to be. Because our plan was I figured the Johnny was going to be more threatening than the Guide of Souls because we can just draw the we can just draw it off the Necrodominant. So our plan was just to let this go force pitch Necro, kill the Johnny. If he plays another 1-drop product, otherwise it's fine. And then next turn play Necro, hope to hit a Soul Spike to kill the Guide of Souls. So, yeah, so here we force it. And so here we top deck Shieldred and play this. The problem is we don't want to go too low because we've got the Shielder already. So we chose to draw 5. Did not find Soul Spike, which means we are going to get hit a little from this, but it's fine. We're going to be able to go land Shielder next turn. And our opponent goes Raptor into Exercise to kill the Necro, which is really annoying. So as it turns out, Amp Drafter is just kind of a heat-seeking missile for whatever card your opponent needs. But here we slam the Shielder. We just wanted to get that in play to start gaining life. Maybe we should have. I guess the reason why I didn't go Fatal Push Knight of Souls because I just wanted to get that down as soon as possible and be able to block up the Amp Raptor on the grounds and be able to start slowly gaining life. And I figured waiting one more turn the Guide of Souls was fine because it was unlikely he was going to be able to get another energy counter on it. But now I just get Flage from the graveyard and this game's over. So again, knowing my opponent had that, what I probably should have done is I should have just passed. If my let my opponent try and go for that, and then go March X equals, and then I guess I have to march it exiling the Fatal Push and the Shieldred, play that the following turn, but I'm still in a really bad spot. I'm still in a really tough spot is the issue. So yeah, again, this was definitely a mistake, but I don't know. Yeah. So I guess the correct play would have been to go pass turn, knowing my opponent has Arena of Glory. When they go exert Arena for Flage, let them attack. I go down to 5, March exiling the Fatal Push and the Shieldred back up to 12. Get hit from the Amp Raptor and the Guide of Souls down to 7. Untap, play Shieldred with no cards in hand and hope our opponent somehow doesn't, and just hope our opponent somehow can't kill us. But again, we're in a really bad spot even after that because any creature lets them start flying over the Shieldred for 7 a turn. So yeah, we made the wrong play. I don't think it would have made that much of a difference. So here, this hand is pretty good. We've got Ring, we've got Shielder, we've got Bowmasters for interaction. We do need to draw a little bit more, but this hand's pretty good on the play. And his Guy of Souls into Goblin Varmint. So he's going to attack, and here we're gonna be able to go Bowmasters, hit him in the face, and then double block it. And here we drew the Necro. So we're going to play up the Necro. And so here we already have Ring, we already have Shieldred. We don't need to draw that much, so we're going to do this and keep 2 Shieldreds, a Surgical, and 1 Ring. So that way we can we're insulated with Flage. We have a Ring in case he kills the draw engine. We've got double Shieldred. And of course, our opponent manages to go Amp Drafter into a Johnny. So just my luck, etc., etc., etc. So they go a Johnny, kill the Bowmaster's token, make another token. Play a Shieldred. Play a Shieldred. We're gonna draw. We're gonna draw on 3. We found the meat hook, which is nice. We unfortunately did not find a way to kill the Ajani. We were hoping to hit a Soul Spike so we could kill it, but it's fine. We're just gonna keep ring. We're gonna keep ring Shieldred, surgical meat hook ring or yeah ring, just because we want to be able to stall out. And our opponent is gonna be able to kill the Shieldred, so no point in blocking because we've got enough life with the Shieldred next turn. We'd rather our opponent use creatures, and they're gonna ring. So we're just gonna play another Shieldred. We're gonna draw 16 or 15 because we don't want to die to that. And we drew the Soul Spike for the Ajani this time. And this appears to be frozen. So yeah, so now we're going to Soul Spike, kill the Ajani, and just keep Shieldreds, Rain a Surgical. Just because we want to be able to get rid of Blage. That's really the only way for us to get back into it. Or have the prison for the Shieldred, it's not going to matter. We're going to be able to draw. We're just going to watch next turn and win the game. So here we did Surgical just to make sure there was nothing weird that could happen if we went for this and just drew our whole deck. There isn't, so we just go Shieldred, draw 21 cards, Soul Spike, and Upkeep, win the game. And we are 7-2. So heading into the final round, the tie breaks were going to be interesting. So I was top of the, or not top, I was third from the top of the 6-2s. The two above me were my round 8 opponent and my round 6 opponent. So so I needed to win, and then I needed to hope to get lucky in tiebreakers. Spoiler alert, I did since I made it to the finals of this event, but I was a little nervous. And so heading into this, my opponent was one of the was a moto grinder who I knew was going to be on energy. So I was at least happy that I knew that my opponent was going to be on Boros. So anyway, again, this hand is a very good energy. Turn 1 Fatal Push, Necro Shieldred Soul Spike, 3 lands. This is not the ideal start against energy, but it's pretty close to it. My opponent's going to play Ocelot Pride for push it. Again, maybe we should have waited to see if we were going to draw Bowmasters, but I think the mana efficient there definitely is an argument for it. Yeah, we're going to play Necrodominance, Soul Spike him. We don't need to go super deep since we already have the Shieldred. And we are so we probably should have gone a little deeper in hindsight, but it's fine. Your opponent's going to go Dinosaur Ocelot Pride, and here we chose not to deploy the Shieldred just because we wanted people to kill the Guide of Souls and the Ocelot Pride. And we can just drop it the following turn. So here's going to pull up the Bowmaster's response. So now we have we didn't need 3 Shieldred, so we exile 1. Our opponent's going to play a Ring. And now that our opponent doesn't have It doesn't have a great way to deal with the board. We're just going to play Shieldred, draw 13 cards, and say, have fun dealing with this opponent. And yeah, our opponent just scooped this. Actually, I guess we didn't even draw the full 13, but yeah, our opponent just didn't have a way to deal with this. They're going to lose too much life, and we're just going to slam Shieldred after Shieldred and throw spikes at his face until he loses. Okay, game 2, from my memory, went largely the same way. Again, I understand watching me play against energy for 9 rounds is not the most entertaining thing, but I was not complaining. So here we have Meat Hook. We don't really have a ton. We have Meat Hook. We decided to keep it because Meat Hook is very good in this match. We have March. We do need to draw some threat, but we rip Ring off the top, so we never didn't have it. Opponent plays Ragavan. We don't really want to let him get free Ragavan value, so we're just going to march that. He does not have a 2-drop. We draw another Soul Spike, which is really not ideal. I put his Flage. We draw another March, which is pretty good. My opponent did draw the Bombardment, which is a little annoying, but we're just going to drop right on 4. And we top deck Surgical. We're just going to fire it off Draw Step, just in case he has another hand, which he does, and now his hand is Ring, Flooded String, Galvanic Discharge. Now, my opponent's going to play Rings. Now we both have Ring plays, but as I mentioned before, my Rings are much better, especially when I top deck Shieldred into another Necrodominant, so I can go nuts the next turn if I want to. So my opponent draws with Ring, they go 9. They have Static Prison. They Static Prison my Ring, but at this point it actually doesn't matter because I've got double Soul Spike, and seeing my opponent doesn't have any instant speed way to gain life or get rid of their Ring, so I'm just going to play Necro and draw a couple cards and then just double Soul Spike and I win the game. Well, actually I drew 3 Soul Spikes here, so it would have been fine. I also had the Bowmasters. So after the Swiss, I ended 8-2, which was good enough for 8th place with tiebreaker. So my round 11 was against one of my 2 losses in Swiss, Despot 000, with the interesting Jolly Balloon Man Phelia Containment Priest energy build. So once again, I was on the play. And so this hand, I drew Aghanim, Soulspike, Shieldred, Inquisition, March, Boggart Trawler. I have 3 lands. I have an Inquisition, I have a March, I have a Shieldred. The spike's not ideal, but I decided to mulligan it. And we drew the Meat Hook in our opener, so that's pretty good. We're going to keep this. We have an interaction. We got Meat Hook, which is super busted in this matchup. And you see our opponent's one lander with 2 Ragamans. So we took the Guide of Souls since we've got Bowmasters to handle Ragavan. He's going to play the Ragavan. So we pass. We're going to wait until our opponent goes to combat before killing the monkey. So we draw the Boggart Trawler, which is going to be good for the Flage. So here we pass. We know our opponent is Ragavan in hand, so we don't really want to get them. We didn't really want to walk into Containment Priest. And as it turns out, we would have walked into Phelia. Static Prison for the Orc Army. And so they're going to blink the Static Prison. We could block here just to save the 2 damage. Their opponent's going to kill it anyway. We would rather have it on the prison. So here we kind of have to, or he's going to run away with the game. I'm just going to blink that out. So now he's got a Containment Priest. Steal our meat book. Has Jolly Balloon Man. And we're going to kill the dog. So we have not found a draw engine yet. But we now rip Necrodons on the top. So here we decided to draw 6. In hindsight, maybe we were supposed to draw 10 here and just go for broke and just try and find a march, but I think we're not in that threatening of a situation yet since we have the Soul Spike in hand. Anyway, we Soul Spike, hit the Jolly Balloon Man, so we can't make any more copies. Put back some Containment Priest. And we're going to flash the Masters to ambush Viper it. And it has Ocelot Ride. But we're going to play Ring to gain ring protection so that we can now draw without worry about has hive attacks. And here we go down to 3. So that would be 5 cards in hand once we do that. Our opponent has the Phelia, which means they can now, unfortunately, they can blink their static prison. And they have Blage. We have Shielders. We don't really need the ring. So for none of this is that interesting. We are going to kill something with this march. I believe we decided to kill the Phelia because we thought him being able to blink out. We didn't want him to go blink out shield. We wanted, we just didn't want to risk him going blink static prison, giving back ring, and going blink and Shieldred. Now our opponent does Flage. So now we ring. Unfortunately, don't draw a way to kill the Flage. Even after this Necro. And we don't want to risk X-Line and win condition, which is why we're not going to draw the 1 every time. Opponent has Ragavan to hit Shieldred, so here we oh right, we bring protection, so we didn't bother to block. And so it does have a big board built up. It's all 1/1s. So here we draw. Chauncey and the Barter throwing away the yard. And drop 10. We do find a way to kill the Blage. Soul Spike his face, Soul Spike his face. So now my opponent's at 9. We're at 44 to buy. If he's got a bunch of play, he's just going to get drained out by the Shieldred. And now he's going to sacrifice his whole board just to kill the Shieldred. Or no, he's not. Here we block the Ragavan. We're going to let him sack his whole entire board. Or no, he didn't. So here we're going to do that. Our draw, this game's pretty much wrapped up. There's not that much my opponent can draw to get out of this. It's Jolly Balloon Man, which does not do it. Go face. And here we draw. We're going to kill two tokens and win this game. So yeah, again, the meat hook was definitely good. We did need to find a raw engine, but overall, I think that game was a fine keep. Now, heading into game 2. This hand, again, we've got turn 3 Necro. We don't have a ton of we have Soul Spike for immediate interaction, so we decided to keep it since we can Soul Spike in this case. And we have Necro Dominance, we have Ring. It plays an Ocelot Pride. We draw Shieldred, which is fine. Shock is in attack, so I know it's not Ragavan. I let this go through. Column Farming, which definitely makes the Soul Spike plan worse. Now we have March. So we have Soul Spike that can deal with no Johnny, but so we're just going to march this for 1 second response. And I feel it does have Haywire Might, which is a little annoying. So we could have done Soul Spike, Haywire Might, and then play the Necro, but I don't really like this. I figured it was better just to run out the Necro, just put out the Haywire Might, and then just drop Ring. They're probably 2 cards in hand. It wasn't any time. But they top deck Jolly Balloon Man to make a cat balloon. Here we're going to play Ring. Static Prison from the Ring. Add the Static Prison from the Ring. Greatest Thoughtseize. It's a failure. We're going to 9. So here we're not in a great spot. We're going to play out the Shieldred, but my opponent can just kill me through the Shieldred, especially with the Outland Liberator. And he's going to blink out Shieldred. And here my opponent makes a mistake. My opponent just goes for. I don't really know why they did this, but anyway, they stacked their whole board to the Goblin Board to try and kill me, and got the bad news that my last 3 cards were supposed to be black card, black card. So we look at 4. Our shield comes back from its Phelia hiatus. We go to 6, attack our opponent to 8. Our Ring's coming back in a turn. They go to 6. They draw a Guide of Souls, put Gigantha in the hand, and we draw March to just kill them. Guide of Souls, hit them to 2. Their last card doesn't do anything, and we win the match. So we definitely got a bit lucky there. Don't really know why our opponent tried to kill us and just not win through beating us down. I guess they were afraid of us top decking Necro, but no, we had that they had Outland Liberator. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it was valid, but I think it was definitely a mistake from our opponent. Anyway, on to the semifinals where we are against Shocker Boros again. So this was an opponent who I think I thought they were on Mardu energy at first, which didn't change a ton, but I wasn't sure which version of energy they were on. But I think I did know they were on energy. So anyway, this hand, kind of a painful hand mana base wise, but we've got 2 fatal push to Necro. We're gonna keep this. We're gonna play the tapped, as we don't really feel like taking it. So we're just gonna fatal push. We did it main phase because, again, I thought my opponent was on Mardu. I'm just going to go Guide of Souls into Ocelot Pride. So here we decided to Soul Spike the Ocelot Pride in response, just because of the fact that we didn't want our opponent to start slow with that. Another Soul Spike, and then in the Necro, when we decided to be fairly aggressive here, pitching a Karn, we drew that. We drew a bunch of lands. We decided not to Soul Spike anything, figuring we can do it worst case. And 1 damage is unlikely to matter that much. But yeah, here we Inquisition. He's going to Galvanic Discharge and have 3 lands. So here we know we can go for pretty much broke. We just decided to go for Evans to 2 Soul Spikes. And that we can just go Soul Spike, Fatal Push with Children hands. And, oh yeah, we held up the Fatal Push because we wanted to get our opponent to pay energy for it. Fatal Push it. And play the Shieldred. We only drew 5 here. Again, no reason to got the top deck in gold. Gets to 7, they surveil. Galvanic Discharge is going to do enough at this point. And they scoop it up. Okay, so then game 2. Okay, just had to quickly move locations there. So my roommate walked in the door. Yeah, so anyway, game 2, we're on the draw. Not bothering to show the sideboard. It's the same thing every time. It's against Boros Energy. In this hand, we have the Force and Despair in our hand. We have Bowmasters, we have Shieldred, we have Interaction. We're gonna keep this and just try and hope Shieldred's enough. Maybe we should have mulliganed this for Interaction, but anyway, we draw Soul Spike, which is not good. But yeah. Also, we could have maybe forced the Serious Base, but we figured we had the Bowmasters for next turn. Giving him 1 additional 1/1 isn't the worst thing. Anyway, our opponent is Goblin Farming, which definitely makes that first decision worse. Yeah. Yeah, so we kill the Ocelot Pride, he kills that, and my opponent draws Amp Raptor into Ragavan, which is really fun. And so we're going to force and spare this. We're going to take 2 damage, unfortunately, from the app, but we it. And so we did not find a 4th land for the Shieldred or a Draw Engine. We've kind of hit some bricks. And these double marches are really looking kind of bad in the face of this Goblin Farming. But fortunately, it looks like didn't have a ton of action. And they're going to play the Ring, of course, because the Ring is a fair and balanced magic card. So luckily, we do find the 4th lane for the Shieldred. And so our opponent does draw 2 into it, but then they go Amp Raptor finds Flage to kill the Shieldred. They attack here. I mean, there's no point in not blocking since they can just sack it post combat. They're going to play Ocelot Pride and Amp Raptor, which is going to go to Galvanic Discharge. Which luckily they didn't have to combat, so it doesn't really matter that much. We're going to play the second Shieldred, and this is not going to live long. It finds the Guide of Souls, and they're just going to escape Flage, and we're going to die there. And we're going to do that, and 2, 3, 4, 5. We're not technically dead, but oh wait, actually no. So now we go to 5, and we're just dead to them if they want to galvanic bombardment us. There's nothing we can draw. Even if we draw meat hook, they bombard us. There's no possible draw we have. There's no possible draw we have since they have more creatures than we do life. If we try and wipe their board, there's no way we can gain. We can't gain life in any of this because they fizzle the marches. We can't soul spike their face because they just kill us in response. Yeah, we were dead here. So yes, we could have tried to fire off the soul spike fate. We could have tried to wait. We could have tried to draw meat hook, but even meat hook doesn't do it here. We're just dead no matter what we draw. Like even ring doesn't really do anything. Because it just stalls for one turn. There isn't any real combination of cards we can draw. Okay. Anyway, so heading into the final game, I was still feeling pretty good since I was now on the play against Energy, which is a favorable matchup. And so this hand was interesting. So we have 3 discard spells, but we don't have removal, we don't have a draw engine, we're going to mulligan this. And so this hand, we have the 1 ring, we have double discard surgical with them. We're going to keep. We decided to keep this because we're able to handle Flage with this hand. We're able to handle their early plays. We have ring to refuel, and so we Inquisition them to see Pride, Discharge Raptor. So here we're gonna take Ocelot Pride. Not really that much of a decision. So we're gonna fire off the second one, and so here we see we're gonna take his other threats, and now his hand doesn't really do much. And we saw that he drew the 3-wind charm for turn, which fortunately we're not relying on Necro for this hand, so we don't need to take the 3-wind charm. I'm just gonna bin a land. And they find a Goblin Bombardment, which is annoying, but not the end of the world. We're gonna play the tap land, no reason to get the swamp and then have to potentially shock it in. So here we drew Necro Dominance, which we're not going to play because we know opponent has 3-wind charm, and we're just going to rely on the ring. So here we don't draw. There's not really a reason to when they're tapped out. So here we're going to draw in case they somehow in instant speed way. It's unlikely to matter, but it's just a minor thing. Anyway, so now we have 2 Necro Dominances, which are not really that useful. So they're going to play ring. So we're just going to jam Shieldred. And so here we had an interesting choice. We could have surgical the Galvanic Discharge here, which I was considering. But that felt too aggressive to me, and I wanted to be able to handle potential Flage. I figured I know they had 3-wind charms, they can likely use that. And of course, we got punished because they had a double Galvanic Discharge in hand. Well, it's fine. We're still in decent spots since they don't really have pressure. And they do have the Guide of Souls, but it's not the end of the world since they didn't have anything followed up with. So anyway, we're going to call with ring, and we found the soul spike. And so here we're in Inquisition, see what our opponent has to work with. And they're going to exile our graveyard, so it doesn't really do much. And so we see they have a ring in hand. We could have potentially put the Necro here. There's not really a reason to. But anyway, our opponent's we're going to Bowmaster's response. He'll kill it. But yeah, doesn't have a ton of great stuff. So our opponent did draw the Ajani, however. So unfortunately for my opponent, we did draw the Soul Spike. I'm not really sure why I didn't Soul Spike in response. I think I figured it was fine because I was just going to wipe his board and I wanted to see if I would draw a march or something. And figured at this point I wanted to save the face damage since burning my opponent out when they've got a ring in play is definitely possible. So that's why I didn't. So maybe I should have maybe I should have gone for soul spiking either the Guide of Souls or the Ajani so my opponent can't gain a ton of life. But I figured I was just gonna meat hook away the board anyway next turn. And that way I can save the soul spikes in the face and see if I can find like a mark or something for the Ajani. So I drew the second meat hook, which is absolutely a good draw. And so here we're gonna play a meat hook on 2, just clear the board. We could have considered going meat hook for 1 and dropping Shieldred. But here we decided just to hold it so that way we can drop Shieldred. Here we decided to now soul spike the Ajani. So we can just drop Shieldred in this and tap with Ring in the same turn. So our opponent is going to go for the meat hook and not the ring. Really sure why they did that. Yeah, so looking back on it, we probably should have just gone meat hook X1, drop Shieldred, and then soul spiked. But I don't know why our opponent didn't try and exile the ring. I think they were just hoping to try and burn us out. But anyway, luckily we do have the surgical that they had an orange chance, which I assume they fired off here. So we're going to do that, and we let this resolve. So our opponent is slowly losing life to this ring, though. And a lot of their threats are gone. So we're gonna kill that. We're gonna go 3. We're gonna soul spike in response in case they lightning bolt, and they're gonna keep the new ring so that way they don't take as much damage. But now they've lost a lot of their pressure. So we're gonna go to 2, play Shieldred. And now we have now we're in a free commanding position. We're gonna do that, and yeah, opponent's gonna go to 8, and I think we won this game. So their opponent draws, and we kill them with Bowmaster. So yeah, we definitely played this a bit risky. I'm not sure why our opponent did not exile the ring there. I think they were either hoping to kill us or they suspected we just had another draw engine in hand. But yeah, overall, we won the match, so I guess we can't complain too much. The only thing, so yeah, so I guess Soul Spiking the Ajani before they could have made a token was probably a bit more correct, especially since they had a Bombardment in hand. But I think I just wanted to, I just, but I think I figured burning them out was definitely a more real chance. I didn't want them to. I think I figured wanted to burn them. I wanted to burn. I wanted to. I didn't. I wanted to burn them out, and I figured I was going to be meat hooking, and I wanted to see if I would be able to draw a March or a better way to handle the Johnny and Soul Spike, and save that for bird damage face when they had a ring that high and I had a shoulder in hand. However, I do think on that turn I should have gone for meat hook X1, leave the Guide of Souls, play Shield, or kill the Ajani. Anyway, so now we have a rematch against a round 8 opponent. We won the die roll again, so I mentioned this earlier, but we won 11 die rolls this tournament. So luck was definitely on our side. So we're going to keep this hand. We have interaction, we have Shieldred, we have the Necro. And so I was feeling pretty good about this. There goes a Stillion Foundry, bin the land. So our opponent goes play Goblin Bombardment pass. So they have the turn 2 Goblin Bombardment, which is definitely good in this matchup for them. We're going to just slam a Necro. There's not really a reason not to do this. So we already had the shield in hand, so we decided to draw 5. We could have maybe gone a little bit deeper, but game 1, their only real we maybe could have gone a little bit deeper, but I figured this turn it was more likely they were going instead of static freezing or Necros and then net pressure, they were probably just going to play something like Ocelot Pride, Guide of Souls, or Ocelot Pride plus a Johnny, which they had. They figured they definitely weren't keeping this hand without any 1 or 2 drops. So I figured the odds of them static freezing or Necro that turn were fairly low anyway. Anyway, our opponent's going to play the Ajani, and we're going to anyway, we're going to play Shieldred, draw 9 cards. Again, no reason to risk losing to them burning us out with Goblin Bombardment. And we do not find a Soul Spike to kill a Johnny, which is unfortunate. And we also don't find a Shieldred. We find some rings, some Necros, some removal. So this is another interesting. I decided to keep 2 Fatal Pushes, Barter Trawler for Flage, and a land and a ring. I probably should have not kept this land and instead kept a ring or only kept 1 ring for a Fatal Push. Since with an Ajani in play and what I suspect will be removing a Shieldred, I don't really want to be relying on Necro to deep draw for an Ajani answer this turn. I probably should have tried fogging a couple of times before trying to kill the Ajani. But again, I don't know. Yes, now my opponent has a massive board. Yeah, this is the other reason, since my opponent now is going to have a fairly big board, and I'm going to want to be able to fog multiple times. So we're going to draw, push, and we do hit the Soul Spike to kill the Ajani. So my opponent's going to play this. We're going to Inquisition, get the Galvanic Discharge, and then we're just going to play the Arbitral as a blocker. Again, this would have been a good reason to keep the ring instead of the Fatal Push, since these 1-for-1 rules right here. At this point, we've now drawn through 35 cards and not seen the second copy of Shieldred. And our opponent has a Guide of Souls. So at least this way, we do now have a second Fatal Push to kill that. So I think if we kept Ring, we wouldn't. If we kept Ring, we would now have to deal with a Guide of Souls here, which I don't know would have been that much better. Since now our opponent gets us to 8, and we go to 6, and we Bowmasters, hit a token. We know he can sack in response, but at this point, then we're going to try and draw. And we have the March, but it doesn't matter. We block Gigantha, go to 1, we die to our ring. We can't get any more. We draw. We actually do hit a Soul Spike, but it doesn't matter. We're dead here. We can't. We have to chump block the Gigantha. Even if we didn't draw anything, we'd be at 1. Our opponent just keeps on pinging us with tokens, and we don't have enough ways to gain life. Okay, so now game 2. This game was something. So we get to be on the play for game 2 since we lost game 1, unfortunately. So this hand we're not going to keep. It's do nothing Shielder on turn 4, which is not keepable. So this hand, on the other hand, is better. We've got Shielder Necro. We've got a Fatal Push. So here we're going to bottom. I believe we bottom the Soul Spike. Yeah. Since we wanted to guarantee having 3 lands. So our opponent plays a tap land and passes. We're going to play a tap land and pass. And so our opponent plays a land. and they just passed the turn. So when they did this, I realized that they had to have Thraven Charm in hand because they don't. There's no way to keep a 7 without any 1 or 2 drops. The only thing they could have kept that would have made sense to not do anything on 2 would have been Thraven Charm, unless they kept like Flayed, Double Arena Flayed, but that's risky if I get Water Trawler. So here I knew they definitely had a fairly reactive hand, so I this land tapped, hoping I can get them tapped out on 3 cards. So I'd have 1 turn with Necro to dig. So they surveil, and they have the Goblin Varmint, and they have Ragavan. We're gonna kill the Ragavan, obviously. We're gonna sack in response, and so we're gonna play. So we're gonna play the Necro. Now that we're tapped out, and we're gonna draw. We drew 6. We could have maybe gone a bit farther, but against we didn't want. I didn't know how much room I had in hand. We already had the Shieldred. But anyway, so they play another Ragavan and pass. So this now definitely telegraphed Raven Charm. So here we're gonna Inquisition. They're gonna throw Raven Charm response, which we were pretty sure they were on. And we see a hand of a Johnny Static Prison Goblin Bombardment Exercise. So this is kind of an issue because they have Exercise and Static Prison. Our One Ring is getting answered. So we took the Exercise so that way he at least has the Static Prison at next turn. Maybe we should have taken the Static Prison, but I don't. No, I think this was definitely right. That way we ring and draw. So that way he can a Johnny and Goblin Bombardment, but then we can fall in turn. He can't actually hit us in the face. So he goes a Johnny, flips it, nicks a cat. Cat hits himself. So we drew a land, which means we can go Shieldred plus go March for 3 to kill the Ajani. So yeah, so now we're at 13, and our opponent drew Flage, so the Shieldred's gonna die. So now we're gonna leave that spot. And Ragavan fortunately stole kind of a useless spell to Profane. We drew pretty well here. We drew Barter Trawler, so we're not immediately dead to Flage. And he now has a removal spell from Fogger Trawler, so he's going to steal a Necro, which is kind of annoying. We'd like to have had that. We draw a useless Surgical Extraction. That would have been which isn't going to do much. And now it's just going to be a Giganta with haste. But yeah, now at this point, he just drew a ton of ways to throw a draw, so we're very far behind. He's going to Surgical our March. We're going to let it happen. And on end step, we're going to go Desperation Surgical or we're in a Desperation Surgical or Inquisition just to try and find something relevant. So we actually did hit Ring, but we drew another land, so that didn't matter. Our opponent's gonna keep Ring, we're gonna kill our Ring. And we draw Soul Spike, and we can Soul Spike the Ragavan, but it doesn't matter. We can Soul Spike face, but then he hits us to 2 and kills us. So yeah. So we just pass. There's not really a reason to do anything. He gets back a Ring and hit Inflate, we draw, and we're just dead. We can soul again, so we can soul spike his face to go to 9, but then he just hits us for 7 plus Ragavan is 10. So we concede. So overall, going back on this, definitely there were definitely some moments that I should have made different molding decisions. I definitely conceded a little early a couple of times, but overall, for the most part, happy with how I played. And yeah, just thought this was worth sharing. And thank you to people who listen to me ramble about my terrible misplays and my gameplay for 2 hours straight of Necrodominance.